Hello, my friend. It is so good to have you here tonight. Tell me something. Have you ever loved someone so deeply, not because they were perfect, but because they were flawed? Most of us are taught to admire perfection. We look at heroes on pedestals, untouched by the dirt of the earth, and we applaud them. But there are very few people we truly love, because love requires something else. Love requires humanity. Tonight, we step back in time to the dusty streets of Villa Fiorito, a small, impoverished neighborhood on the outskirts of Buenos Aires. We follow a boy who was given a pair of legs by the heavens, but a heart that bled like any other man. A boy who would rise to become a god to millions, and yet fall to the very bottom of human darkness. This is the story of Diego Armando Maradona. Diego was born on the 30th of October 1960 in the Lanús West Clinic, but he grew up in Villa Fiorito. His family lived in a 3-room house with no running water. His father, Don Diego, worked from dawn until dusk at a bone-crushing mill, returning home every evening with hands raw and calloused. His mother, Doña Tota, would often pretend to have a stomachache at the dinner table, just so there would be enough food for her children to eat. There was no money for leather footballs, so young Diego played with a ball made of old rags bound together with string. He played in the muddy alleyways where the ground was uneven and filled with broken glass. But when the rag ball touched his left foot, something magical occurred. The boy did not run with the ball. The ball seemed to cling to his skin. When Diego was 3 years old, his cousin gave him his first real leather football. That night, the little boy slept with the ball tucked tightly under his arm, terrified that someone might steal it while he dreamed. Football was not merely a game in Villa Fiorito. It was the only bridge that led out of the mud. By the age of 8, Diego joined a local youth team named Los Cebollitas, the Little Onions, and they went on an unbelievable streak of 136 consecutive matches without a single defeat. Spectators gathered around the perimeter of the dirt pitches, whispering about a tiny boy with wild dark hair who could balance a ball on his forehead while walking backwards. Yet beneath the growing legend, there was a quiet promise made in the silence of his poverty. Diego looked at his mother's tired eyes and his father's broken hands, and he swore that he would build them a home where rain would never leak through the ceiling again. He carried the hopes of his entire family on his small shoulders before he had even turned 15. On the 20th of October 1976, 10 days before his 16th birthday, Diego made his professional debut for Argentinos Juniors. As he stepped onto the pitch wearing the number 16 shirt, his manager whispered a simple instruction into his ear. "Go on, Diego, play as you know how. And if you can, nutmeg someone." Minutes later, young Diego flicked the ball through the legs of Juan Domingo Cabrera, and the stadium gasped. A star was born. By 1981, he transferred to Boca Juniors, the club of the working class. The fans at La Bombonera recognized themselves in Diego. He was not a polished athlete, raised in luxury. He was one of them. A street boy who played with the fierce pride of the slums. He led Boca to the league title, dancing past defenders with a swagger that captivated the entire nation of Argentina. Europe was watching. In 1982, Barcelona broke the world record transfer fee to bring him to Spain. But Spain was not ready for Diego, and Diego was not ready for Spain. He suffered from hepatitis, and then came the terrifying night in September 1983, when athletic Bilbao defender Andoni Goicoechea tackled him from behind, fracturing his ankle. They called Goicoechea the Butcher of Bilbao, and for months, the world wondered if Diego would ever walk normally again. He recovered, but his time in Barcelona ended in chaos after a wild brawl on the pitch during the Copa del Rey final. The Spanish press criticized his lifestyle, and the club board wanted him gone. It seemed his European journey was over before it had properly begun. Then came July 1984. Another world record transfer fee was paid, not by Real Madrid or Manchester United, but by an impoverished club from southern Italy that had narrowly avoided relegation the previous season, Napoli. 75,000 people filled the Stadio San Paolo just to see him step out of a helicopter. Italy was a country divided. The wealthy industrial cities of the north, Turin and Milan, looked down upon the impoverished south. Neapolitans were mocked, insulted, and treated as second-class citizens. When Diego arrived, he did not just sign for a football club, he adopted a cause. He told the press, "I want to become the idol of the poor children of Naples, because they are like I was in Buenos Aires." Over the next 2 years, Diego built something extraordinary. He taught a team of underdogs to believe that they could stand tall against the giants of Italian football. Before he could conquer Italy, the world came calling. The summer of 1986 arrived, and the World Cup was hosted in Mexico. 4 years earlier, Argentina had fought and lost a painful war against Great Britain over the Falkland Islands. Young Argentine soldiers had lost their lives in the freezing waters of the South Atlantic. When Argentina faced England in the quarterfinal in Mexico City, the match was far more than 90 minutes of football. It was a confrontation of pride and wounded national identity. What happened over the span of 4 minutes in the second half transformed Diego from a man into a legend. In the 51st minute, a misdirected clearance floated inside the English penalty box. Diego leaped into the air alongside the tall English goalkeeper, Peter Shilton. Diego was 5 feet 5 inches tall. Shilton was 6 feet 2. Yet Diego reached the ball first, using his left fist to punch it into the net. The English players protested furiously, but the referee stood firm. Diego later described it with unforgettable poetic flair, a little with the head of Maradona, and a little with the hand of God. 4 minutes later, Diego produced the greatest single moment in sporting history. Receiving the ball inside his own half, he turned away from 2 English midfielders with a sublime touch. He accelerated down the right wing like a hurricane, dancing past 2 more defenders, gliding into the penalty box, rounding Shilton, and sliding the ball into the back of the net. 60 meters, 11 touches, 5 defenders left in his wake, and 1 goal that brought an entire nation to its feet. Argentina won the match 2-1. They went on to win the World Cup, defeating West Germany in the final. At 25 years old, Diego lifted the golden trophy toward the Mexican sky. He had fulfilled the dream he made as an 8-year-old boy in the dust of Villa Fiorito. Returning to Italy, he accomplished the impossible. In 1987, he led Napoli to their first ever Serie A championship in their 66-year history. The city exploded in joy. Celebrations lasted for weeks. People painted murals of Diego on apartment buildings, priests placed his photograph beside statues of Saint Gennaro in local churches. He was no longer just a football player. In Naples, Diego was a living deity. He won a second league title in 1990, and the UEFA Cup in 1989, delivering unprecedented glory to the impoverished South. But living as a god carries a heavy toll. The pressure was immense, and dark shadows were gathering around his life. The turning point came during the World Cup of 1990, hosted by Italy. In the semi-final, destiny arranged a nightmare. Argentina played Italy in Naples, inside Diego's own stadium. He asked the Neapolitans to support Argentina, reminding them how the rest of Italy mistreated them. The stadium was torn. Argentina won on penalties, eliminating the host nation. When Argentina reached the final in Rome, 80,000 Italian supporters booed the Argentine national anthem. As the cameras zoomed in on Diego's face, his lips moved with rage, cursing the crowd. The love affair was over. Off the pitch, addiction and chaos devoured him. The Camorra Mafia surrounded him, offering protection and indulgence. In 1991, he tested positive for cocaine and received a 15-month ban from football. He left Naples in the dead of night, slipping away like a fugitive from the city that had once worshipped him. He returned one last time for the World Cup of 1994 in the United States. He appeared transformed, lean and sharp. After scoring a breathtaking goal against Greece, he sprinted toward the television camera, his wide eyes screaming with desperate passion. But days later, he tested positive for ephedrine and was banished from the tournament. A weeping Diego told the world, "They have chopped off my legs." His body slowly gave way after years of punishment, surgery, and excess. On the 25th of November, 2020, Diego Armando Maradona passed away at his home in Tigre, Argentina, at the age of 60. An entire nation wept. 3 days of national mourning were declared, and hundreds of thousands lined the streets of Buenos Aires to bid farewell to their flawed Messiah. My friend, I want to stop the story here and speak directly to you. The story of Diego was never truly about trophies or football tactics. It was about a little boy from the mud of Villa Fiorito who carried the dreams, anger, and joy of millions on his shoulders. Diego was not a saint. He made countless mistakes, bled in public, and fell into deep darkness. But perhaps that is precisely why the world loved him so intensely. He never pretended to be perfect. In a world that demands fake perfection, Diego gave us raw, unfiltered humanity. Thank you for walking this emotional journey with me tonight. If one moment from Diego's story touched your heart, please share it with me in the comments below. I would love to read your thoughts. Until next time, my friend. Good night and goodbye for now.